Hi everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm going to read for Victober, or at least what I'm planning on reading. If somehow you don't know what Victober is, it is a month dedicated to reading Victorian literature. It has 4 fantastic hosts, all of whom I will link down below in the description so you can check out their announcement and TBR videos. So you can get a bunch of recommendations and reading suggestions from them, take a look at what the challenges are for this Victober. And if you don't really know what Victorian literature is, they are your go-to. They are the oracles of information. I have engaged with Victober to varying degrees over the years. I got really into it when I was at university. I would try and complete all of the different challenges. In more recent years, I've kind of just incorporated it into my reading, seen it as a way to kind of motivate me to get to some of the classics that I often neglect on my bookshelves. You may know that I collect the wonderful Penguin English Library editions of classics, which are designed by Carly Bickford Smith, and I have a lot of those books, but I don't always make the time to read them, and Victober is a great way for me kind of to encourage myself to pick up those books that I don't always find myself leaning towards. And I have picked 5 books off my shelf for Victober 2022, 4 of which are by the same author, and one of those 4 would be a reread, and then another by one of my favourite Victorian writers. I haven't checked if any of these books kind of fit into the challenges or the prompts, and as you can see, they are all quite short. Now, I often associate the Victorian novel with being quite a chunky book, but there are slimmer novels in the mix, and I think reading some of these shorter classics is really what I need for my reading right now. I think if I was to pick up one of the larger classics off my list, then I would just be giving myself a mammoth task that I wasn't going to complete. I'd rather give myself manageable reading that I feel like I can actually do, rather than something that is just going to be an albatross around my neck, if you will. So let's talk about the books. The first book I want to read is Silas Mariner by George Eliot. I have read 3 George Eliot books before. She wrote one of my all-time favourite classics, Middlemarch, which if you are looking for a chunkster to pick up for Victober, oh boy is that a chunkster. So this is about a man named Silas who, after he is wrongly accused of theft, he is sort of banished from his religious community, he is exiled. We follow him years later when he is living by himself and his only kind of motivation is all of the gold that he is hoarding, all of the wealth. But when his money is stolen, an orphan child named Eppie finds her way into his life, and his life is transformed from that point. This one, of course, much shorter than some of George Eliot's other books, and I'm excited to see how it stacks up against her other books that I've read that I have been a very big fan of. The 4 other books that I am going to try and read, I would like to at least read 2 of these. As I said, they're all by the same author, and that is H.G. Wells. I'm kind of incorporating these into my kind of spooky seasonal October reading plans. If you would like me to do a reading vlog where I try and read all 4 of these books, do leave me a comment down below and let me know, but I will take you through them quite quickly. So the one I have already read is The War of the Worlds, which is about an alien invasion in London, and when it was originally broadcast on the radio, people thought that it was actually what was happening. Is that true, or is that like a myth that people just circulate? Next is The Invisible Man. So this is about Griffin, who arrives at an inn entirely covered in bandages apart from sunglasses on his eyes. It's assumed that he's some sort of accident victim, but actually the reasons behind his disguise are far more sinister. The Time Machine, which is about a scientist who is catapulted very far into the future, and while the new elfin society that he finds seems to initially be idyllic and beautiful, things again aren't quite what they seem. And finally, The Island of Dr. Moreau. This is about Edward, who is the only human survivor of a shipwreck alongside a menagerie of animals, and he comes across Dr. Moreau on this uncharted island in the Pacific. And Dr. Moreau is really experimenting with regards to the laws of nature and the lines between man and beast, trying to create a new super breed. With all of these books being, of course, as I've said, very short. I do think it's achievable that I can read all of these books, and I think particularly with the H.G. Wells one, with all of these books being, of course, as I've said, quite short, I do think it's really achievable that I will read all 5 of these. I do have lots of other Victorian books on my TBR. I will leave my classics playlist linked in the cards and down below if you want to see more of my discussions around these books. But yeah, I don't want to give myself, you know, a massive task, a massive undertaking that I'm not going to be able to manage, and then I'll just feel unmotivated, and that's exactly the opposite of what I want with my classics. If you are taking part in Victober, do leave me a comment down below and let me know what you are most excited to read. If you are someone who's read a bit of H.G. Wells before, let me know which of these books you think I'll enjoy the most. That is it from me today. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will speak to you in my next video.